All right, let's dive into the world of fintech. Today, we're looking at three huge players. But here's the thing, they're each writing a completely different story. We're talking from the quiet back offices in Delaware to the bustling markets of Latin America, and all the way to the financial heart of London. You know, this is the perfect way to think about what's happening. It's like we're watching a Netflix series with three totally separate plot lines. We've got a quiet, behind-the-scenes player trying to step into the spotlight, a regional giant that's fighting an old, tired comparison, and a global superstar trying to decide where to call home. So our first story is all about the Bancorp. Now, you might not know their name, and that's kind of the point. They're a classic backstage player, working tirelessly behind the scenes. The big question now is, can they finally move to center stage? At the heart of their whole business is this idea, banking as a service. What does that even mean? Well, it means they're the licensed, regulated engine that lets a lot of the fintech brands you actually know and use issue cards and manage all their payments. They're the ones making it all happen. But okay, here's where the drama really starts. Their latest third-quarter earnings, well, they were a bit of a mixed bag. Revenue looks solid, which, makes total sense given how crucial they are to the whole ecosystem. The problem is their net income took a dip, and that's making investors pretty nervous, forcing them to kind of rethink the company's entire valuation. Let me put it this way. Think about the sound engineer at a massive Taylor Swift concert. Without them, there's no show. The whole Eras tour just falls apart, right? But you probably have no idea what their name is. That's Bancorp. Absolutely essential, but not the name you see on the ticket. And that leads to the one question that Wall Street is asking right now. Can a company that built its entire identity on being the quiet, reliable infrastructure, can it really transition into a star player that gets those top-tier valuations? Honestly, the jury is still out on that one. So, the bottom line is this. While the stock might look like a real bargain on paper, the market wants proof. They need to see a clear path, a real plan for how Bancorp can scale up and turn that backstage pass into a true headliner gig. All right, now for our second plotline. We're heading down to Latin America to meet a company that is just incredibly powerful, but man, is it often misunderstood. Let's talk about the giant MercadoLibre. Now, if you follow international business at all, you've almost certainly heard this comparison. It's the go-to, easy shorthand for describing what they do. So, is it fair? Well, the short answer is not really. In fact, that label is probably holding investors back from seeing what this company is really capable of. It's kind of a lazy comparison because it completely misses the most exciting part of their story. And that exciting part, it comes down to this number. Get this, $40 billion. That's the total payment volume their fintech arm, Mercado Pago, processed in the last quarter alone. That is not an e-commerce number, folks. That is a fintech empire number. See, they are so much more than just a company that ships boxes. Mercado Pago is an absolute payments behemoth. Mercado Credito is their lending division, and it's growing like crazy. And maybe most importantly, they are building the financial plumbing for millions of people who've just been left out of the traditional banking system. Just imagine for a second if, back in the early days of Amazon, Jeff Bezos decided to also build a peer-to-peer payment system and a massive online lender, and just put it all under one logo. That's basically what MercadoLibre has done. It's mind-boggling. So at the end of the day, calling them the Amazon of Latin America is like calling a Swiss Army knife, well, just a knife. It totally misses all the other powerful tools it has. MercadoLibre is a multi-talented fintech powerhouse, and that's where the real story is. Okay, on to our third and final plotline. For this, we're flying over to London to check in on a global fintech superstar, Revolut, and they are facing a massive strategic decision about their future. So let's just get our bearings here really quick. We're talking about a company worth $33 billion. It's Europe's biggest neobank, and it offers pretty much everything. Foreign exchange, crypto, stock investing, you name it. They're a huge success story. Now, the big debate for Revolut is where to go public. And it's a classic head versus heart dilemma, right? Listing in London would be this huge symbolic homecoming for the UK-born company. But New York offers access to much, much deeper pools of capital and usually higher valuations for tech companies. A Revolut IPO in London, It would be like Adele playing a surprise gig at the O2 Arena. After seeing so many other heavyweights choose New York, it would just be this massive symbolic victory, a real shot in the arm for the entire London tech scene.
So you can see the tension here. Revolut knows it could be a hometown hero, give London that confidence boost it really needs. But it's also a $33 billion company that wants the global stage and the kind of financial firepower that, let's be honest, only Wall Street can truly offer.
So, after following these three incredibly different stories, what have we learned and what should we really be watching for next?
So here's the plot so far. You've got Bancorp, the backstage engineer, trying to prove it deserves that headlining spot. Then you have MercadoLibre just completely rewriting that lazy Amazon comparison to show it's a true fintech powerhouse. And finally, you have Revolut, making the entire city of London dream of a big comeback tour.
Each of these companies is facing a really defining moment. Will the infrastructure player become the star? Will the misunderstood giant finally get the credit it deserves? And will the global superstar choose its heart over its head? I mean, these are 3 episodes that are still being written, and it is going to be absolutely fascinating to see how they all unfold.